Welcome back to the North American LCS Academy 2021 Spring Split. I'm Deserux, this is Coco the Dragon. We've just finished watching that match of Dignitas versus Immortals. It was definitely a very competitive one. Dig fought like they needed to, and, hats off to them for that one.
Yeah, and Dig really showing their colors, really giving me something that I wanted out of this team, of many LCS veterans, and showing that they still have the individual prowess to actually carry through in their games, but they're still struggling with some team identity here or there, you could argue, as it is, but with Immortals having sort of falling flat and not having their power players like Pretty or Potluck have that actual priority or that initiative to really make their own plays. It sort of left them running in the dust and sort of left behind as Dignitas took over. But now we have another game on our hands, Desterix, that is going to be Team Liquid Academy versus CLG.
Yeah, and this is one that, when you see it on paper, you're not that excited for. You have the undefeated powerhouse that is Team Liquid going against a team that is struggling, only having one win so far against C9, and that is going to be CLG.
Yeah, and this is one of those games that it's sort of like coming up for a breath of fresh air, saying, all right, I'm looking for a lot of great plays from Team Liquid because they have not dropped a game since. Jenkins has been performing immaculately on a wide variety of pickups, Lulu, Camille, Kennins as his preferred, and then also Armeo being a very veteran voice in that jungle position, which is helping carry through a lot of the Oceanic prospects that have been picked up by Team Liquid Academy. Looking at Harry, looking at Ayla, who have been very strong and giving a great argument for themselves going into the season.
And don't forget my boy Bob Jenkins while you're at it. Jenkins, an absolute phenomenal weak side player, and his carry potential shown so many times. The originator of the Kennen, of course. Team Liquid have absolutely been doing phenomenal so far in this season, and really, you can't say too much about it. They are the team to beat.
Yeah, but the other person that we have not been looking at, but has been in the center of the screen for the majority of the time, has been Jan here. He's been popping off left and right. Sure, he's only played Kai'Sa and then a game of Senna throughout this spring split so far, but he's been constantly showing that he has what it takes to possibly upgrade into an LCS position maybe next year. But for him, he's been making a lot of great improvements. He's been extremely aggressive. He's been finding trades left and right. He's been out farming his opponents consistently, and the big key thing for him is positioning. He's always been at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and that last week matchup, both Immortals and FlyQuest feeling the wrath of Team Liquid. But we do got to look at the other side of the rift, though, because we do have a interesting little roster here when it comes to CLG. Of course, they've been having a much more rough time getting through this, but you do see some potential there. Like taking a look at the top lane, of course, take a look at CLG as a whole. We do have BN, who's been absolutely aggressive, feast or famine, but his kill participation, we got to talk about that. That 100% KP.
Yeah, let's just go top to bottom with CLG. So TN has 100% kill participation since his debut into LCS Academy. And when you look at it on paper, you're like, okay, wow, this is crazy that he's been able to participate in it. But then you realize it's only been 8 kills that he's participated in. So that just then plays into the narrative of how much CLG is behind the rest of the game and the rest of the competition here in Academy. And it comes down to Keel, who has a strong game plan in the first 10-12 minutes of the game, but then starts falling behind once you get into these team fight and objective contention situations. They've had those hiccups here at the mid lane. Pobelter now coming down to the bottom, who has shown that veteran voice is very valued in this team and sort of helping find their identity back again. But then there's that other question of the other Oceanic newbie that's coming in and has only played 2 games in Katsuri, who hasn't found his footing just yet.
I mean, talking about Pobelter, what you were just saying, he has a lot of influence on the map. He needs to be that pretty much that control mage that helps sets up these team fights for the later stages of the game, because we're looking at the end. We're also looking at the bot lane to be able to do things for CLG. We're not exactly looking at the mid lane, but Pobelter is the enabler for CLG if they are able to find wins.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at how these replays are going, how these highlights are of how Keel always tries to look for something to set up, and it's the rest of the team sort of scrambling to help make sure that play does work. And though those highlights were very, I'd have to say, empowering for CLG, they haven't had that impressive of a track record. They've only picked up 1 game, but that 1 game is pretty important because it was against Cloud9 Academy. And if there is something about defeating Titans and being the underdog and the dark horse, this might be the game to take a loss here for Team Liquid Academy by CLG's hands.
And I mean, we have to wonder where that's going to come from, though. I think what we really did focus on was Thien in the top lane,
Yeah.
but he's up against Jenkins. When we start looking at the matchups, when we start looking at these rosters, you can see the strengths of CLG, but there are almost no flaws in Team Liquid. If you look at the KDAs around the board, 4 to 7 KDA on each and every single member, they perform well.
Yeah, and it's something where we're getting to a point where Jenkins was the sort of the bar for expectations in top lane matchups for Academy. Now that's been upgraded. Now you have a bar set for Armeo. If you're able to beat him here, then you will be able to sort of overcome and sort of get over that hill to get into LCS. Same with Harry, who has been just dominating and has really just shown the versatility of being able to play control mages and carries when needed. And this is where it is very much an anti-hero story for CLG Academy to just provide that upset, create these tiebreakers to be even more congested than possible, and make sure that they could actually fight for 7th or 8th place position instead of being confined to 9th, 10th.
It's going to be a long road for them to get there. I mean, 1 in 5 right now. It hasn't been the prettiest for CLG. At the very least, this is an experimental time for Team Liquid. They can choose to kind of flex how they see fit and maybe try out some new champion picks as they're already locked in that top end of the playoffs.
I wouldn't say just yet, because you cannot disrespect the power of the underdog here for CLG. Because, like you mentioned, a rough start, 1 in 5, but a lot of the narrative on how these tiebreakers are going to be playing out in Academy Spring Split is if the if the bracket is going to be top heavy with a lot of 5 wins, 4 losses, or if it's going to be bottom heavy with 4 wins and 5 losses. And CLG is not out of the woods yet. As long as they don't drop a game for the rest of the season, they are in the running to play in those tiebreaker situations. So a lot of the importance of this game is on CLG's shoulders, and it is very crucial for them to find the identities, find the players they need to work around to create a team that can actually really thrive going into the summer season.
I mean, and you're talking about team as well. I mean, CLG, they've had 9 individual players. We haven't really been able to get a good footing as to what CLG really is. They keep swapping out members when it comes to their academy roster, but it's something you can both like in one end and dislike in another. You're not really developing a team sense, but you're getting more experience and trying to see how these parts mesh together.
Sure, right? Like, I think Tien and Katsuri already mesh well. Like, they've been on the same team in Oceania, and now coming here into Academy, it's not much of a change, but it's all those other pieces like Pobelter and RGS Rant just coming in and swapping out. They've only had one game with one of those mid laners each, so it's a question of, okay, how well will they be able to mesh going into this game? Same goes for Hooks, who has started to find his stride in the support role, and someone who we haven't touched on too much because he's just been sort of lying just slightly under the water here for support players. He's not someone that's been impressive, but he's not been someone who has been a detriment to his team. So a lot of that comes into a question of how well the players of Hooks and Pobelter will be able to apply themselves into this and bring those veteran voices and give that carry role to the oceanic prospects that CLG is trying to mold.
And for TL on the other side, when it comes to the next week, they do have C9 in their eyes. My hopes is they haven't looked past CLG a little bit too much. It's easy when you're at the top of the top of the ladder to look at these bottom teams and just kind of scoff them off and just be like, well, I'm looking at the next big fish. Cloud9, they might just have one loss, but that loss was to CLG.
Of course. And with Team Liquid Academy, I'm going into the draft here, we have to think of what is going to be priorities. I'm looking at Tien and Jenkins. You talked about it earlier, and I'm going to reiterate it again. These two are very key to how the rest of the team operates, and from there you can start building around them fairly effectively. But TL has that flexibility of saying, oh, okay, Jenkins got a bad matchup, let's go ahead and throw Harry with a great matchup in the mid lane, or hey, let's give Jan a great matchup with Kaisa. Once again, we're on blue side, let's just first pick it. And it's that flexibility that CLG has to address and get the best possible chance for them in this game out of so many different options that Team Liquid can choose from.
And you can see right there, Team Liquid going straight after Hooks' champion pull. The bands going on to support pull. Tom Kench and Thresh moved off the map. Udyr, I'm telling you, he's going to be 100% presence by the end of this patch. There's almost no doubt in my mind when it comes to that. Seraphine going to be removed as well. Victor taken off the Rift. One more ban for CLG.
They could ban away the Kaisa, say, Jan, you're going to be playing something new today. We're not going to give you that priority, but they decide to ban the Kennen. Another great choice, and helps tell that that one real key player of Jenkins, they're going to be investing into TN and making sure that they have a decent matchup going forward. But now it's all into Team Liquid Academy's hands. And a Rel first pick. Okay, this has been rising through the starts, but it's not something that I would be expecting going forward because of all the other power picks that are available here for Team Liquid Academy.
And you're talking about power picks. The Engage is there. The gas pedal is there for CLG Academy as they grab the Kaisa and Renekton. So you're already getting a lot of dive potential coming out of CLG Academy as we have for Team Liquid respond.
Yeah, but there's a lot of marksmen that can still complement with Rel fairly well. Currently, like, you could do a Senna if you want. You could farm with that. Aphelios is still on the table. Xayah is still on the table. And with that, they decide to lock in with the Xayah. So they've already figured out their bottom lane. That's great. So it gives a nice luxury for CLG Academy, actually, to say, you know what? We've got our priority pick on the top side. We've got Renekton for TN. We can just go ahead and pick our support right now and leave everything else to the unknown. Or with that Azir lock-in, we can find the counteraction to that as well. And then really prioritize this bottom side and make sure that we can get a good support in our hands.
So one more pick for CLG. Again, they've been going for more aggressive draft so far.
Yeah. It's a supporter in mid that we're looking for. Why would you pick? I don't like that. I don't like this, Desrix. I understand the priority of having your jungler locked in while you go into the second bans and making sure that it doesn't get wilted out. But Keel hasn't played Nidalee just yet. He's played the Talia, which has been nerfed this patch. You have the Adu, which has been taken out, but you also have the Graves and Hecarim still available on the board. And it's something where you didn't need to reveal your hand just yet. And you could give that final counter pick over to the jungle if you so choose, or for the mid laner. And it now backs them into a corner of saying, all right, now those two counter pick situations are just going to be whittled away while we have to deal with what Team Liquid still has left available, which is going to be that top and jungle position.
Who knows? Maybe they're just tunneling into the whole aggressive go button thing and the Nidalee Renekton combo, but it might be a little bit too much of a tunnel here as we head into the second phase of this draft. Renekton, Skarner, Alistair all taken off the map, really focusing the support pool is going to be CLG Academy.
Yeah.
CLG Academy, excuse me, Team Liquid.
Leona banned out, Alistair banned out, so they're pretty confident with the matchups that Pobelter would be throwing at them. I'd be looking at either the Orianna situation again, like we just saw in the Dig Immortals matchup. There's also the Twisted Fate that is still available and on the board for themselves to sort of really dull down that Renekton Nidalee situation on the top side. That would be a great, it would be a good pick up here for CLG Academy. But going with Nautilus, I don't like talking about hovers. Okay, it locked in. There's the flash. Interesting snag here, but it's something where I just have to reiterate to sort of the R3 pick for jungle, where it's sort of they've backed themselves into a corner and they just sort of have to deal with whichever they so choose, and they don't want to give over their mid lane decision just yet for Pobelter, while now Team Liquid has to file out the rest of their hand.
So the final picks coming in for Team Liquid. Come on, you're not going to go for that.
Hecarim,
Olaf
yeah, there you go.
will be the one that's locked in. Hecarim banned away for right now. Olaf, yep, you kind of like the draft that's coming out of Team Liquid as a whole. Like, it's really well-rounded and flexible. One more pick comes in. We're still waiting for that mid lane to get, not even the mid lane to get locked in, the support to get locked in. And
looking for top right now. That's what we're looking for. Okay, there we go.
You know what, supports are top laners are supports. Meta's gone all wacky on me. And locking in the Lulu for the top lane.
All right, that's fine. You know, you say, great, you thought TN was going to be your carry pickup here. Well, we're going to neutralize that lane immediately with the Lulu. And he did also get a solo kill on Lulu Jenkins, by the way. So that's something where you cannot disrespect it and just accept it to be a neutral situation. And now with how Team Liquid has drafted, you have some great carry pickups. Your engagement, you've got that checked off. You've got wave clear, got that checked. Enchanters, objective control, early game. Everything is looking great for Team Liquid Academy. And then I look across the board and look at CLG and say, okay, a Zoe pick. Well, you've got some zoning control that you can carry with, but now you've got a lot of weight onto both Keel and TN to get this early game rolling. And then the weak side of Katsuri and Hooks, where they're going to be sort of left to their own devices to try and win that 2v2 matchup against Jan and Ayla. It's going to be a very steep mountain to climb for CLG Academy to try and take this win.
I mean, personally, I think CLG Academy's composition is great if you're in
What?
an ARAM. Like,
Oh.
there's so much poke in it, and there's not really that much you can get out of that. You really got to get an income going, and
Yeah.
I echo you completely when it comes to the putting so much pressure on the kill and TN. It's
I agree with your
looking too
ARAM
good.
decision, Jester. I am 100% down for that. I was doing some ARAM best of threes last night with some amateur friends, and it's one of those things that you're saying, okay, we get our front line and we get our poke, and then they're never going to be able to hit our turret ever again. And then you realize that they decided to just build a run at you comp that can also peel for themselves. And you're just like, well, crap, I forgot this is Summoner's Rift. We're going to deal with what we got. And CLG is going to try and do just that against the Titan that is Team Liquid Academy.
Finally hitting the rift right now. Team Liquid Academy versus CLG Academy.
Oh, boy.
Oh boy, dying to see how this one goes. First place versus last place. Don't ever put the underdog down, though. Maybe in this case, you can kind of put down their giraffe, but you never know. It's Academy.
Yep, and I respect the fact when a lot of people say, hey, you're putting a little bit too much weight and too much importance on how a draft plays out. And in these situations, you can kind of play that argument and say, look, pole bolters are a little bit more confident on the Zoe this time around, thinks he can get some good mid lane priority to control for roams up to the top side. He did go teleport, by the way, so he's going to try and match Harry on those wave managements as much as possible. But speaking of wave management, you do not have a lot of wave clear outside of Pobelter on the side of CLG Academy. If they get behind and they start getting macroed by Team Liquid Academy, which they love to do, by the way, you do not have a lot of members that can actually answer those side lanes efficiently and then sort of reverse that sweep and then rotate to an objective contention.
Yeah, and unless you're doing poke, which they do have a lot of, sure, you do have the Zoe, Nidalee, and the Kaisa.
Sure.
You are still a short-range composition if it does come down to a fight at the end of the day, and that's something TL's comp does really well going into having to fight against any of these engages. You know, go ahead and yeet the Kaisa, and we'll yeet her back out with the Shurima Shuffle.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, which is I'm going to point out with Jenkins and picking up the Lulu pick, is that with this pick composition that CLG has cooked up, they have a lot of front-end damage, and they can really burst out a lot of those squishy targets, Harry and Yannick, respectively. But you have a Lulu that's going to just growth them up, ult, don't have enough to burst them down, and they also have their own tools to peel away. Yan can also just do Featherstorm and just Blade Caller to just disengage from the entirety of any situation that he runs into. So with that, now we just have to reapply ourselves and say, okay, let's get out of this messy situation that we had in the draft. Let's figure out on how these people are going to address into the game and how CLG is going to really invest on TN in this top side. Because again, like you mentioned, it's a Renekton in Italy once again. We just saw Dig Academy do very well with it. Can CLG repeat that success?
You know, looking at the Lulu in the top side, I can't help but to say, like, it's such a Jenkins pick. Whenever I see a Yordle over in the top side that it's just spamming away harassment at range, all I think about is Bob Jenkins.
It reminds me of when I do some scouting for a specific team in amateur who has Viper as their top laner, who he has really started to like ranged tops just because it gives him so much priority. And Jenkins is in that same pool. He's like, all right, Lulu, great. Kennen, great. Quinn, awesome. Like, let's just beat the living crap out of the top laner and make their laning phase a living hell. But here's Keel with this counter engage. But wow, solo kills again!
Too late, Kill. Way too late. Jenkins will just get the 1v1 and say sayonara as he goes back to the base. Easy first blood for Jenkins.
Oh my goodness. We were scared of this. I just do not disrespect Jenkins Lulu, and they did just that. I want to see that again just to put salt in the wound, but we're going to have to look at bottom side as Jan and Ayla are also applying the pressure with Armeo on the box side.
Kathy and Rain goes down. A lot of lock-in to come in from Hooks, who's finding them hooks, but has to back off immediately. Too many autos coming out from Jan all meanwhile. And yeah, aggression going out. It's what you expect when you see something like a Rel Nautilus as the supports in the bot lane.
Yep. Oh, hold on. Keel's down here as well, but I don't think they actually know Armeo is down here as well, so they have to be fairly careful on how they address the situation. They do have a ward in this sort of pixel brush next to the alcove, so if he does try and do a lane gank, they can approach bit. And yes, we get to see the Jenkins just absolutely terrify TN. Welcome to LCS Academy.
Yeah, it's a Jenkins lanes, Coco. It is a Jenkins lane. Look at Kill just showing up so late. The end tries his hardest.
Oh.
He tries his damnedest, man.
Oh, and he flashes away. Doesn't even get the spear either. If he got the spear, maybe you could argue with Jenkins throwing his flash away that they could have looked for a 1-for-1 trade. But Jenkins just played that so well. He just respects the matchup. He understands it and already gives them a 1,000 gold lead at 5 minutes into the game.
A beautiful start over in the top side for Jenkins as Kill makes his attention known in the
this is
mid
even
lane.
worse. He went Swifties. You're not going to be able to catch this Lulu ever.
Just throw the polymorph on yourself, get that speed boost going. Gas, gonna step on the gas, and Kill's stepping on the gas towards the top lane as he tries to find a spear onto Jenkins, but Jenkins too fast! He's got the Nikes, he's breaking the ankles, and now he's turning it around for an engage. Amuro will show up, but it's only for looks to dissuade the continued engage from CLG. Jenkins, he's a threat, man.
Yeah, and this is where it is going to be so difficult for that one win condition of CLG Academy to come back. He's going to get another solo kill, is he?
Oh my
Please.
god.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh. He didn't have the mana for it just yet. He was popping the corrupting potion. But back to the CLG point of saying, well, your top lane focus, it's being thrown by the wayside. How do you get a sense of control back into this early game? You look at the objectives, you say, okay, Ocean Dragon's available. We have some priority for that. We did hit the reset. We could try and fight for that, but Ayla's already on top of it. Hooks is still sitting in this lane. He's not getting any vision control really prepared for a possible objective contest, or at least to understand if Armeo's tried to go for it. And look, just as we mentioned, Armeo hops over the wall, says, okay, let's see if we can get some vision denial. Let's see if we can find Keel. And if everything's all set and go, we check the boxes and we can just go ahead and solo the dragon by Armeo himself, while everyone else just applies that pressure to make sure no one knows that is happening.
It does look like Keel sees it coming. Trying to respond to what's going down in the bot lane. Will be kills. He throws in the spear. Will land onto Ayla, and that will be it right there. Hooks finds it. Will be a kill going over to CLG.
Great hook there from Hooks as he's able to pick that kill up for himself as well. A nice commendation. And with that, a lot of that priority gets given away. A good rotation from Bowbelter as well, who had won that mid priority, takes the smite as well, so they can have absolute control of this, thwarting the plan that Team Liquid Academy had cooked up. So, nice adjust of strategy.
Wait, is this it? Is this it, Coco? Is this going to be the upset? Is it too late? 7 minutes in, one kill. Can we already start saying an upset?
I live with a CLG fan. Do not give me false hope here, Deserix. But the thing is, you could argue it, but it's like, well, the kill went over to Hooks. That doesn't really get dumped onto the correct carry. Bowbelter's going to get blue buff sure to just make sure they can constantly keep up with Harry in this mid lane. But all of these plays and sort of how the compositions work with one another, CLG's not in a position to really take anything over by storm because of how miserable the top side is. You don't have a lot of kill priority in the mid lane unless Bowbelter is able to 1v1 on his own right with the Zoe and get some nice sleepy trouble bubbles. And then that bottom side is really the only investment that you can go for now because of how well Hooks is starting to oppress Ayla and Yon when they look for these detachments and these roams to set up vision.
This is the most intimidating thing. Like, it's a crocodile running away from this little Yordle and just autoing away. Machine Gun Lulu tearing apart the Renekton's health bar. Yeah.
And it's going to be going for Moonstone, most likely, just of how oppressive that is. Staff of Flowing Water did get nerfed this patch in 11.3, but nothing too harm. But, Hooks, Xayah did get buffed. I'll let you all know that one.
Yeah, it was a lot of damage, forcing the heal out of Kasuri as well. So, not a pretty spot for Hooks to be. But there's that neutral objective control we were talking about. Olaf is great at being able to establish it and solo a lot of these by himself.
So it's sort of the same question of where are you going to be able to apply this Rift Herald, and a lot of it is going to be stalled out to say, well, can we just break open a first turret and get all 5 plates initially? But with everything being smelled out, Keel is able to keep track of Armeo and can challenge us once again.
There comes the damage spear onto Armeo. Keel's trying to take the Rift Herald right now, but here comes the Ragnarok looking to run in, the flash forward. Which way is it going to go? Here comes the Reckless Swing. Keel will fall. 1-for-1 trade so far. Jenkins way deep into this fight will get caught out and killed as the Emperor's Divide buys times for Harry to be able to walk away. Elia trying to escape as well, but the Sleepy Trouble Bubble catches on the backside. The jump comes in, and so does the Paddle Star. CLG, they're starting to take fights, man. They're starting to give Kangas some hope, Coco.
They are giving Kangas some hope, but also they're able to get the Rift Herald for themselves. TN is able to grab that one up in his back pocket, so he can try and just at least grab some top priority back and maybe get some turret plates to boot. Maybe not destroy the turret per se, like I mentioned that Team Liquid Academy would look for, but just to get that extra 320, 160 gold into his situation where he's got a 23 SCS deficit, and with that additional kill as well, maybe some priority back into this game for CLG Academy. But it's again, Keel being able to keep track of where Armeo is, great smite fight as well, able to pick up the steal on that, and then from there, it's all Team Liquid sort of scrambling to see if they can try and get Keel and try and get out of dodge before they really get run over by the great roam that Hooks was able to get.
It was a beautiful play to come out of CLG, and they're playing this early game pretty much well enough. We've been doubters, and we're still kind of doubting. I mean, the macro game is still going to TL as they are able to keep the gold even at the very least. But it's life for CLG, and they're showing that they do have something to bring to this game.
Exactly. That's all we're looking for CLG is just signs of life, and they've been showing that so far. Sure, they have the kill advantage. The CS, as you mentioned as well, has been lackluster here or there, but Katsuri actually has been able to keep up with Jan and get a 10 CS advantage here or there when it does come to those detachments where Ayla looks to roam for vision. The only worry for me is that 2 out of those 3 kills is put onto Hooks. He can get to a tankier status of Nautilus fairly quickly now, but it's still anyone's game. The decisions are still up in the air, and we have yet to get to that crucial mythic item point where you get the Moonstone here for Jenkins to really become that oppressive utility support in the top side of the map. Harry still hasn't had a lot of damage dumped into his itemization yet, and just the raw base damage that CLG has in their composition has been able to win out. So far, ARAM comp looking pretty good for early Prio.
Early prio, early vision control as well. There's a lot of vision around this Drake coming out from CLG. Try to make sure they get an advantage on it. As an engage is attempted from Elia, but won't find too much. Hooks will find Elia though. Gil coming down, and now we're gonna get the 3-on-3 depth charge comes out, gonna be thwarted by the feathers. And Jan will be able to walk away. Paddle Star goes through. Sleepy Trouble Bubble won't land, and a neutral fight altogether, just throwing them slide off to the side from each other.
Yeah, but it's also to exhaust some of the tools away from Team Liquid Academy to contest for this dragon. And Ayla just spear after spear getting into the back of this horse, becoming a pincushion at this moment. But this also reveals a lot of that tempo going back over to CLG Academy for this dragon. Armeo is saying, I want to fight this. I want to try and contest for it, but Harry is not ready. Jan and Ayla are unhealthy for the fight. And CLG will be able to get the second dragon of the game and determine what the soul point will be.
And it was so simple for Kilo as well. He just threw out the spears, landed them. Hey, they're low enough. I'm going to go grab Drake. It's a very easy early game if Keel just continues to do that, just continues to set up CLG for this early game success.
And then this is where I actually start to raise my red flag a little bit, because we just peeked over the 12-minute mark here for Keel, where I mentioned her before that Keel, he has a good game plan going into the early stages. Once you get to these very heavily contested 5-on-5 objective fights and these team fights that will be brewing fairly shortly, that's where I start to come into question for Keel. How will his positioning be? Where will his vision control? What flank will he look for? That's what I'm going to be keeping my eye on. And the other thing is Popelter, who's going to be trying to keep up this pressure of how well he's been zoning Harry out of this lane and then reasserting himself back to the objective.
Emperor's Divide onto Keel. He gets caught out way too deep in no man's land. Armio will pick up the kill, and you can compliment him all you want, but CLG will be CLG.
That's what I was telling, man.
Caught out.
Keel, like, it's literally 12 minutes. It's like, all right, what do I do? And it's that catch again. Hopefully that doesn't happen anymore if you are a CLG fan, but Team Liquid says, okay, well, we can take those. We'll run it back and get a kill for Armeo and get some additional gold into our carrier's pockets, who now have cashed in and have got a great reset. Like, look, Gale Force is done. Moonstone and Gore Drink are all ready to go, and we have yet to cash in on a mythic item for CLG yet. This is where, for them, thankfully, there is no objective available for a little bit of time. Rift Herald will be spawning in the next 40-30 seconds, but at that point, they need to hit those resets early, get at least some kind of damage back into their side of the court to try and fight for that once more, because Team Liquid will be eyeing that Shelly.
I mean, you are getting a lot of crashes of the wave over on the bot side. CLG do hold prio over there, but you need to rotate it. You do need to find something else, and I believe that's what they're going to do right there. No, still sending TN over towards that top side, so not looking for any contest in the lane swaps yet.
Not just yet. I would want to see it, but at this stage, they still have a little bit of time to do so. They can try and force this bottom wave out just a little longer, say hard push it, now we can go for our resets, but again, they have to wait to see when their mythic items will be. They haven't cashed in on them yet. I'm pretty sure Katsuri definitely has the gold in his pocket to try and get that mythic item now. Like, he has the same gold and economy as Yon does, so he just hasn't gone for the recall just yet to really cash in on it, and they need to find that do so. So yeah, there you go. 1200 there for Katsuri. He can definitely get that Gale Force if he so chooses. It's just a matter of will he and the rest of his team do so to prepare for this Rift Herald fight, or for even the next dragon, or for when the turret, for when you're looking for your first brick coming down the line, because turret plates are gone. They've been gone for 90 seconds. When will you decide to actually dump in to have this empty gold actually be active gold in items to really double down on the lead and the confidence that you've been able to get?
Trying to find the engage on Katsuri, but the flash will be burnt, keeping Katsuri alive. All that being said, TL are kind of focusing more towards this bot side than anything else, and that's going to let Keel just camp up on Rift Herald and be able to take that for himself.
I don't like that. I feel that Team Liquid could have had that priority, especially with just what advantage they have. And I think it's a sense of losing that initial Rift Herald fight that is sort of haunting them right now, and that's where they're saying, all right, just forfeit it, don't worry about it. We are a team fighting composition. We are going to be better when we are able to condense ourselves. And Haley saying, hello, Keel.
Shurima shuffle to come in, going straight after Keel. Keel's returning damage, but Poe Belter is over the wall and only can do so much. Gonna pick up that kill on to Keel.
And with Harry, I think that just tells me that Team Liquid was just late to the call. They're saying, we want to go for this Rift Herald, but they just did not set up properly for it. CLG was stalling them a little bit too long, and then finally when Harry felt that confidence to say, look, Poe built to reset, let's look for this Herald, it was already done and ready to go for Keel, but hey, at least they were able to find that kill on the back end and get another one for Armeo.
That's Rift Herald number 2. It does provide some influx of gold to keep CLG in this. And we are finally starting to see those mythic items come through as well.
True.
Already. Oh, there we go. Another purchase coming in for Poe Belter.
Yeah. And now we have 35 seconds until the Soul Point will be available for CLG Academy. And so we're going to be really keeping an eye on how that vision control will be popping up for them. Will they be able to find some flank wards? I see one on the very bottom, right next to that sort of connector bush, next to the tier 1 turret and bottom side. There's a flank there. Can they find any more? Can they get some vision into this very dark river at this moment? Because Team Liquid definitely is in the driver's seat for this objective fight.
Always watching those spears. You know, it only takes a couple of them to change the momentum of the way the positioning is going around these objectives.
Yeah.
So Keel trying to set that up, but Team Liquid, they have priority over it, and CLG don't want to contest.
Nope, they decided to say, you know what, we're going to sort of bite the bullet, drop Rift Herald here so we can open up this map. They will be able to do so with this charge and get the first brick of the game, but nothing else from it.
And now backing up TL, showing up late to the party after they grabbed that Drake. Will be an Infernal, more Infernals to come. But control still, CLG really, really favor this top side of the map. They keep coming back to it, keep establishing vision there.
Ooh, Poe Belter got that Chem Tank pickup, alright. Respect, but you know, a little bit of a delay and a stall here for both these teams because they're not just confident yet to really try and break open anything else more. They're still in sort of that offside mindset of needing to break open these tier 1s so they can sort of drive the vision further into the opposing jungler, whether it's CLG grabbing this top turret and pushing farther into the top end of the map, or if it's bottom side for Team Liquid and saying let's open up this map a little bit more. And just as I say, they're trying to drive TN away from this T1 so they can do just that.
Yeah, trade for trade, top tower for bot tower. Jan's going to make sure to let that tower clear out as many of those minions as possible to deny at the end, but Katsuri's still pushing and Katsuri's still farming. So that's someone who can come online later on for this game for CLG, and he's already got an assist. He's already getting some good itemization down. You talked about the Gale Force earlier. He can become a threat. He can become a very realistic threat for TL.
moment, taking what they know, taking the blue buff away from Team Liquid Academy. You do not get to give that to Harry. Pobelter is able to snag that one, but Armeo is on the other side of the map saying, all right, well, you take my blue buff, I'll take yours, and I have the team to sort of disengage and get away from this fight if I so choose, but Hooks finding a good land there to force the Ragnarok and disengage the fight.
Ragnarok going off, it will be burnt from Armeo, and Hooks just throws him. He throws him and he sees what he gets, and this time he is able to get an ultimate, and it's a very valuable ultimate on top of that for Olaf to be able to be enabled, but Katsuri getting caught out! He will flash, he will get away, Pobelter trying to return some of the fire that went through, but Ayla will escape, gets caught by the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but nothing else to be seen here in the mid lane.
Close call there from Katsuri, but he's able to use the Hunter's Instinct and just get back to his turret with that range and reposition, but a very close call there for CLG to lose a lot of that mid priority that they've been fighting for. And with this, with these resets coming in here for CLG, this gives a lot of time for Team Liquid to open up the map a bit, take a little bit of a farm catch, get these sideways back under control for them, or really solidify the control that they have. As you can see, Harry on the top end, Jenkins in the bot, making sure that there's always a lane that CLG needs to address, while the rest of the team, Armeo, Jan, and Ayla, prepare the vision for these odd migrations that CLG will have to address going into the mid game.
See, Team Liquid finally able to get control of the vision over towards his top side. I say finally, but there's still some wards slipping by for CLG. And that's one thing I do got to commend them for. Throughout this entire game, they've been doing their best to continuously put that forward vision over in the jungle of TL and just try and spot out where these rotations are going.
Oh, for sure. It's that constant mind game of knowing that you don't have like a true engagement. Like, yes, you have Hooks with the Nautilus. If he's able to find a good catch, that's amazing, because it helps sort of condense everyone to focus point for the rest of the poke of Keel and Pobelter, just sort of pinpoint on. But you need to make sure that you have that vision for your flanker, for TN, who has been doing a fairly good on recovery systems. Sure, he's still 30 CS down, but it's nothing that they need to worry about just yet, because Jenkins, it's a Lulu, it's not going to get out of control as a split push or anything, and you can eventually readdress it, and it just sort of converts it into that team fighting mindset that Team Liquid is looking for. And now with a minute to go for Dragon, this is where you can swing back as CLG, saying, okay, we need to get those flank wards back online, see if we can find those picks here or there to sort of force a Team Liquid away from this priority of River.
Trying to hold down right now. Battle lines drawn once again. Pobelter throwing out those battle stars. Will land the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Finds it onto Ayla, but Ayla will be able to escape, and it's CLG holding priority over this Dragon area. Still got another 30 seconds before it spawns. Meanwhile, Harry over on the top side able to claim a tower.
It's that resetting for this Dragon fight as he's ready to go. Summoners are available. The only one that's missing is that Ignite on Ayla, which might be actually available if the Dragon fight does stall out a little longer than expected. TP does come in from Harry to meet up with the rest of the team, and Ayla decides to start the fight now.
Straight onto Pobelter, they will delete him from the rift. Katsuri can only watch in horror as his mid laner gets torn apart. And now TL, after all that priority CLG were able to get, TL are now in control of the Dragon side map.
And that was a quick draw there from Ayla. I'm gonna have to catch that one in slow motion because it was an immediate engagement. Usually you expect that of Rakan to just come out of the darkness of your screen and pick you up and take one member from CLG, but it was Rel this time with a beautiful engagement and being able to win that priority, as you said. And with that, CLG now has to scramble to attract them to sort of calm down these side waves that have been constantly pushed in by Harry and Jenkins. And with that objective gone, it's 2 Infernals for Team Liquid, and these team fights are looking bleak.
Ayla, beautiful timing. The moment he saw the ultimate come out of Pobelter, he knew exactly where Pobelter was going to be.
So it's something where with Rel, you can buffer your ultimate while your W is in transit, as it is. So you can jump in, and while you're jumping in, you're pretty much right on top of them already. You might as well just ult them, get them all condensed so they can't get away from your W, which does take that little bit longer time to finally connect. So great pickup there from Ayla, and now with this transition, CLG trying to win back that mid lane priority, saying, okay, we have to respect how quickly Ayla can just catch us off guard in these missed positions, get this vision control back going for us, get those flanks again, really double down on that vision control.
And vision control really is the aim of the game. Well, looking at CLG, the more they have, it's really terrifying when you see spears, paddle stars, missiles, all of that come out of the fog of war. You have very little time to react.
And that's what they know and love. As long as they can see you, but you can't see them, that is a poke comp's dream. And again, another spear lands onto Ayla.
ARAM comp.
Oh yeah, ARAM comps, man. if there were no bushes on that comp, but oh, there we go, another fight for Ayla.
Going in, trying to find the engage. Ayla stayed alive for so long, but it's been a kill. Going over to CLG as the end. Jumps on the back line, goes after Jan. Emperor's Divide able to pull him off, and the Croc gets caught and slain. Jan picks up that kill. The Emperor's soldiers going forward to get a little more damage onto Hooks. Spear goes wide, but ultimately TL able to take the net win on a 1-for-2 trade.
And another quick fight started by Ayla. Just a slight mispositioning from CLG, and a fight is forced. They have the members to try and contest for this Baron, but Keel is available, but his smite is on the slow cooldown. He will not have it up to fight for this.
Keel's gonna go for it. Spear comes out, does not land. Hooks takes a bit of damage from the soldiers of Hiri. Now Katsuri able to just barely dissuade the Baron from going through for TL.
Yeah, they just didn't think they had the health pools to actually deal with any poke or harassment that Keel would be able to dish in. And again, just a quick draw. It was a slight misposition from Ayla, but he turned it on their head, said, you know what? We're going to be the one that starts this team fight, and they did it beautifully. And then watching how Jan positions himself with this wonderful Harry ultimate of the Soldier's Divide, groups everyone up to where it is perfect for the Blade Caller to rend everyone through, and Keel, Hooks, and Katsuri had no way to actually walk into that fight unless they too wanted to get rooted.
So I think we're starting to reach that tipping point, Coco. I mean, it's 2K separating these teams, but the draft heavily favors TL. We kept talking about in the beginning of the game why we thought CLG were going to falter. Even though they played a really mean early game, TL's comp is coming online. You're starting to see the beautiful things you can do with it, with that Rel ultimate, with the Emperor's Divide, and how many tools they have to react to what CLG are doing.
Yep,
but
and again,
CLG do have more tools coming in, because Elia will find the ult on the backside. Amaro will grab the kill onto Poe Belter.
And just time after time, how quickly Ayla is able to land these engagements on this Rel is immaculate. Immaculate work coming in from him, and now they can have that priority. It's 5 members to 4. Keel does have smite up this time, so they can test it, but Ayla forcing them away.
Ayla going for more. Spear goes wide, but the hook does not. Instead, Ayla goes forward. He says, I wanted that hook. Emperor shows up, claims the kill. Hook goes down, and now Thien looking to show up to this fight onto Jenkins. Jenkins on the run, but he's caught between a tower. Will fall to Katsuri. Interesting choice of pathing. Elia almost gets caught by a spear, but now he's by his lonesome, and Keel is going to continue to throw these. Will not land onto Elia. Elia will find some safety.
Yep, and a little bit of a slip up there from Jenkins, just deciding to walk through a turret, and the rest of the team of CLG Academy is able to get that snag and punish it accordingly. Team Liquid not able to pressure onto the Baron once again, and the fact that Team Liquid is still using the Baron as a baiting tool to disengage and then try and fight CLG is it's appropriate, because if you're approaching a poke comp that will just constantly just keep throwing spears and paddle stars into the pit, but it's something where there are other things you could get on the board. You can get that wave management back and available. You could take their jungle away from them as well and get some more vision control into their side of the map and into their quadrants, so you can actually try and challenge this Baron easily when it does come arise. But this time, this is still a warning sign for me. Team Liquid might be in some trouble, even if they get this Baron.
Baron has been called. 2K health remains. Keel's not going to be able to get close enough. Baron gets taken down, goes into the pocket of Team Liquid, and here comes the engage. Ayla tries to find the way out. Will be able to escape, and Team Liquid, they're not going to be punished at all. They get the Baron and get off scot-free.
That is insane that they're able to get off scot-free there, but they're not going to be able to get the Dragon Soul here. This is going to be Soul Point going over for CLG Academy. They're at least going to get this as a consolation prize for participating in that Baron contention. And at this stage, the fact that Team Liquid Academy was able to get out with no lives lost is just CLG not pulling the trigger, knowing that they have the priority and actually the tempo to try and push through and punish Team Liquid for maximum output. And because of that, Team Liquid is able to apply this Baron strategy to their plans and to according to what they want, to have Harry out on this weak side to push down these turrets, to have everyone else congested in the mid lane. So if someone does misposition slightly on CLG, they have the damage and they have the utility to punish.
And Baron empowered push now coming up for Team Liquid.
That's 3
They
cannons.
shove both the top and the bot wave, and yeah, those cannon minions, so many of them ringing out. Poe Belter almost gets clocked on his way in, loses half his health, and Armeo will be able to take down this mid lane tier 2 tower all by himself. The end tries to respond, but Team Liquid are knocking at the door of CLG.
Yeah, and they're just being able to win all of this priority on this top side. This inhibitor turret's as good as gone. Someone just needs to sneeze on it and it's left, and Poe Belter, someone just needed to just look at you and you would have died again. But here we go. TL gets to break the defenses of CLG Academy, and it's just all according to plan. Yes, the kills were close early on, but the macro and the strategy that Team Liquid had cooked up with this composition is just overwhelming CLG Academy.
I mean, the responses you're seeing, every time Poe Belter goes for his Paddle Stars and pops his ultimate, Team Liquid are quick to get damage in, just like right there. Poe Belter hops in, he eats a couple of autos from Hayri all meanwhile, and able to return some fire with the spears. This is what CLG want. They want to kite him back, get those skill shots in, and whittle away at those health bars, but it's going to take quite a few skill shots before you're able to take out a team fight. So looking to go in. Thien tries to dive far into the back. Elia is there to play defense. Hook's trying to show up to try and help his teammates, but on retreat is CLG. Catching out Poe Belter, wants to flash over the wall, will not find it. Hooks now caught out with the reckless swings with the axe after axe after axe. It will be a double kill. This time going over to Jan, and Team Liquid are happy to march into the base of CLG.
And CLG thought they could find a pick, thought they could punish, but no. Jenkins showed them the power of a Lulu and how she just counters every assassin and pick composition in the West and is able to deny so much time for CLG. Team Liquid just takes this game by storm and is looking to end it here and now.
Yeah, now it is just clinical running in after Katsuri. Kill is just on the fountain as his ADC gets torn apart. Kill, nothing to do, man. Nothing to do. Team Liquid take it and continue their undefeated streak, now 7-0.
And I just have to reiterate, this is just how sort of situations with Keel are. He has a really promising early game, and then you just hit like that 12 minutes, and it's like, all right, I get picked, I miss position, my team gets caught out, I don't have a plan anymore, and CLG showed that, and it showed their weaknesses so poorly, and Team Liquid was able to exploit it to the utmost maximum potential going into that. But honestly, you have to give the MVP of this game to Ayla on this rel. Just instantaneous snap of the finger fights, engaged instantaneously, not giving this poke composition of CLG Academy to actually do what they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, CLG found a way into that game, but Ayla just pretty much took that out with those constant engages. I have to give him all the credit in the world for that. But as much as it showed flaws in CLG, I do feel like it showed a little bit of flaws in Team Liquid's game plan as well, as they did have to struggle to be able to get that win. That early game was a little bit shaky.
Just a little bit, just because of how the bottom lane was a little rocky to start. Hooks did a very good job on finding those lockdowns and oppressing the bottom lane of Yon and Ayla, and this is where you have to reiterate sort of the strategies that CLG and Team Liquid have, where you can draft a really good win condition for CLG Academy, and if that doesn't work, it's really difficult for the rest of the team to actually try and scramble for another, and that's what we saw, where they had Tien as a win con. That didn't work out because of Jenkins being able to solo kill him on Lulu. They just said, okay, we need to transition to bot side competition. We need to have Katsuri as our next carry. They tried to invest in that, but Ayla this time around was able to counteract that win condition. And it's just the versatility and the flexibility of how well Team Liquid understands different moments of the game and how to counteract their opponent is really showing the strengths that they have. But like you said, with the early game, they did have a little bit of a slow start when they did have to transition those win con adaptations.
I mean, Team Liquid have invested so much into a lot of these prospects that are coming up. Of course, Harry is one. We kept watching over and over. His ability to establish map control and as well as neutral drift control was something that you had to commend as Team Liquid. They just looked like an overall strong team, but those strengths. It's hard to find the cracks in them, and when one player starts to falter, the others come through and shine as well.
Yep. So, and unfortunately, this is an end of the ride for CLG Academy. They are now 1-6, so they will be stuck on that bottom side of the lineups here for these teams for the final scores of the rosters. So we will be seeing them in tier ones. I'm excited for that at least, but fortunately for them, they will be having to prepare for that coming into those seasons.
Yeah, definitely a rough setting for CLG to be in, and a great setting if you're Team Liquid. You're loving that undefeated streak continuing, and it's been great. I mean, personally, I'm a Team Liquid fan, no bias in that one, so I'm always happy to see them continue to push through. We are going to throw it over to short break. When we return, we'll get into an interview with one of our players of the game. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the North American LCS Academy Spring Split 2021. We just had the matchup show of Team Liquid versus Counterlogic Gaming. Team Liquid coming out victorious. We're here with our post-game interview brought to you by Verizon, and that's going to be Armeo joining us on the desk. How you doing, Armeo? Nice to have you here.
Good to be here, yeah. It's good. We got the win, so I'm pretty happy.
All right, you guys baited out Baron heavily. What was the game plan in playing into such a very heavy composition field with that much poke?
Yeah, their comp did have a lot of poke, but in a full up 5v5, it's not the best. Just the draft in general compared to ours. We had like a super OP 5v5. So if we can ever get an actual 5v5 where we have vision, so we can actually dodge their spells without just like getting hit by all of them, it's beneficial for us. And we were also just getting like random, I wouldn't say random kills, but like we were contesting waves and then we would just kill Zoe. And it's like, okay, now we can start Baron, get more kills. It was a little unclean at some moments, but the concept was good.
So being on top, undefeated still here in the Academy Spring season, I've got to get your thoughts on sort of how the rest of the teams are stacking up, because we still have a lot of tiebreakers going forward to sort of figure out throughout the day. Are there any appealing teams like maybe Evil Geniuses or 100 Thieves that you're looking at that could actually really make and break back into the top 3 with you and Cloud9 Academy?
I think 100 Thieves is pretty good, even though the record's not the best. So they can make it to the top 3. I would say like, yeah, them, C9, us are probably my top 3 right now, but it's really hard to tell because teams improve fast, you know, different levels of play depending on the day. So yeah.
Well, and speaking of levels of play, with these teams sort of being confined to the Tier 1 amateur circuit that will be coming up fairly shortly, do you have any thoughts on how these teams will be able to go sort of address into the amateur ecosystem? And are there any hopefuls or any amateur teams that you've been keeping your eye on?
Yeah, I've been watching the amateur games. I watched like I forgot who GGS played against because the names I forget, but I saw they actually lost yesterday. So definitely some of the amateur teams are quite strong. Obviously, some of the teams have like some very notable players. You know, like Anda, for example, is an amateur who I think is a really good player. So I don't remember the name of his team, but like I think there's definitely some strong amateur teams. So I think there'll be some good matchups when like those matches happen between academy and amateur.
Awesome. Well, it was fun having you on the desk. A good game once again, and hope to see you succeed and possibly go undefeated throughout the entirety of Spring Split.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. We are going to throw in a short break while we get ready for the next game, so be sure to stay tuned. We will be right back.